Hi guys, Brian from Boas here. As you may know, Suriname red-tailed boas are one of the species I work with the most, and every year I have a handful of pairings of Surinames. I've been really lucky over the last 10 years to get a lot of really nice litters, and I've held back quite a few animals over the years. And so today what I wanted to do is show you some holdback animals from the last 5 years going back to 2020 to give you an idea about what's coming down the pipeline as far as Surinames I'll be producing in the next few years, as well as the comparative sizes, because I get a lot of questions about boa growth rate and is my boa growing too slowly, is it growing too fast, am I feeding too much, am I feeding not enough, etc, etc, etc. So hopefully you can see the animals in this video and that will answer some of those questions. So first I'm going to start with animals from last year, from 2024. These guys are now close to a year old, about 9 months or so. This is a male from one of my litters, and I picked this guy just because he had really great intersaddle markings and really high contrast, really nice color. He's actually going into shed now, unfortunately, so his colors are a little bit dull. But what I really liked about this guy, he kind of stood out from the litter because of the markings between his saddles and the color. And you can see he's still pretty small. This guy is maybe 2 feet long, I'd say. The Suriname boas grow pretty slowly for their first year or two. And I've had people that get animals from me that are a year old and they're kind of like, why is he so small? But that's completely normal, okay? They just don't grow that fast for the first 2 years or so. And you don't want to try to overfeed them because then they might end up regurgitating or having issues. But this is totally normal size for an animal that's this almost a year old. This guy is probably put on about maybe 4 or 5 inches from birth. He's visibly bigger than the size at birth, but still, pretty small animal. Smaller than you might think if you're not familiar with true red tails. Here's another animal from 2024. This is a female from my litter number 4. And this one was sired by a male I call Mr. Pink, who is a Hope in Florida red tails boa, one of the most popular boas here on the Brian Boas YouTube channel. But really nice female, really nice light coloration, just like her dad. Really nice, long, bright red tail. And she's got these really nice markings between the saddles. And so that's kind of what I look for with holdbacks. I want something that maybe looks a little bit different than a lot of the boas you see on YouTube or on Facebook or Instagram. A lot of people go for this really washed out clean look and reduced saddles, and to me it just looks really processed and artificial, and I want something that looks more natural, more like you would expect to see of an animal in the rainforest if you encountered it. So I really like high contrast, high color, and lots of secondary markings between the saddles, and this female fits the bill for all of those. Incidentally, I'm hoping for another litter from Mr. Pink this year with a different female. So those, if I'm successful, that'll be a really nice litter. So stay tuned for that, and hopefully we'll have some more really nice animals from that bloodline available this year. Next, we have a holdback female from 2023. So this female is almost 2 years old. You can see she's visibly bigger than the yearlings, but still not a huge snake. I'd say she's maybe 2.5, maybe 2 3/4 feet, maybe close to 3 feet, but not a huge snake, and probably smaller than most people would expect a boa to be at almost 2 years old. Incidentally, I've got this really old book, probably from the 90s, which talks about boa growth rate, and they claim that within a year boas get to be 3 to 4 feet, and some will get to be 5 feet, and that's just, in my experience, just ridiculous. That would only be possible if you really power fed a boa, and with a true red tail, they probably would end up regurgitating and not make it to their first birthday. So anyway, what I really like about this female comes back to the intrasaddle markings, and she has these kind of streaks between the saddles. And there's a pair of them, these parallel streaks between the saddles. And it just gives her kind of more of a natural look, and I think a more of an interesting thing to look at. versus a boa that's all washed out and clean. And so this female also has this really nice long tail and really nice high contrast markings. This is one from my Prometheus bloodline. Next, a holdback female from 2022. So this female is now approaching 3 years old. And at this age, they start to get more of the adult shape. You can see her body is more laterally compressed. She's showing more of the musculature. They tend to kind of squeeze a little bit more, as this female is, as they get a little older. Although this female is just, in general, a little bit more squeezy than some of the other ones because of her parents. So this female is from a bloodline that I refer to as my dwarf bloodline. It's a female produced by Russell LaFleur, and she's only about 4.5 to 5 feet long at over 10 years old. She's now 11 years old. But so it's possible this female isn't really going to get that much bigger than this. But this is typical size for an animal that's approaching 3 years old. But really nice color, this female. Her color has been developing. She's got this really nice dark rose pink color, beautiful red tail. Really nice example of a true red-tailed boa. Next, an animal from 2021. And so you can see this guy is visibly more robust than the younger animals we saw. Thicker, more muscular body. I'd say he's probably about 4 feet long. Really nice coloration. This guy is from my Prometheus bloodline, and he shows what I call the wild look with lots of background markings and just a really cool looking animal. And this guy, I'd say he's maybe about a year away from breeding size. The males can breed a little bit younger than the females. But I'd say for males, I'm shooting for at least 5. For females, sometimes probably about 6 would be when I start. Sometimes, rarely, a female can breed at 5. It depends upon body size and condition and things like that. Some females don't breed until they're 7, depending upon how they're growing. They're all a little bit different, but this guy shows you what will be coming down the pipeline in the next few years as far as breeders, and just a really nice looking example of a true red tail from Suriname, born in 2021. Finally, a couple animals born in 2020 that are approaching 5 years old. First, we have a male here. This guy, I'd say, is about 5 feet or so. And this guy has always been a little bit on the smaller side. Some animals just are a little bit smaller, grow a little bit slower. It's perfectly fine. You can see this guy is also a little bit wild. But sometimes Surinames will behave like this, which is why I often recommend Colombian boas for a pet boa. Colombian boas generally are a little bit calmer when you take them out. And I wouldn't say Surinames are aggressive generally or difficult to handle. They just hold on a little bit stronger. They're maybe a little bit less secure about handling. But this guy is a really nice looking example. Lots of pink in him. He's from my Picasso bloodline. And I'd say he probably will be ready to breed next year. Not sure if I'm going to breed him. Just have to see who's on the lineup and what my breeding plans are going to be. But this is what a mature Suriname boa looks like. Probably not quite as big as you might think. I actually have older males that are about this size that have bred successfully, so it's not an isolated thing. Then again, sometimes males get to be 7 or even 8 feet long, so they just vary. Every boa is different. Lastly, this is a female from 2020. Also approaching 5 years old. So she's a little bit bigger than the male we just saw. Still at least a year, probably 2 years away from breeding size. But you can see just these close to adult red tails, they just have a thicker, more robust, more muscular body. The colors continue to develop until they reach adulthood. Sometimes the colors can get a little darker, sometimes they can get lighter. They just kind of change, but definitely they don't have that gray look that some of the babies will have for the first 6 months to a year or so. And this is another female from my Picasso bloodline. Really nice animal. I'd say she's probably going to put on another couple feet. Probably get to be about the 7-foot range as an adult. But this should give you an idea about the boas that are going to be being produced in the next few years. And the boas that I'm working with now also have a similar appearance from this Picasso bloodline, so I will likely have some babies from this bloodline available this year. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it gave you some food for thought about the growth rate and relative size of different aged true red-tailed boas. Let me know if you have any questions or any comments. Thanks for watching, and enjoy your boas.